Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Today, we are going to have a great show as usual. We have a wonderful guest in from Berkeley, California, who is the host producer of A Rude Awakening on Pacifica Network KPFA 94.1 FM in Berkeley. How are you doing, Sabrina?
I'm doing well, Egberto Willies. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, you know, we had to, right?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
It's
we got a lot to talk about.
It's a special day, and especially with media, it's a special day, my friend. But anyhow, folks, we're going to get started with the program. But before I get started, I want to remind everybody that's listening right now on Facebook Live, please remember the most important thing for you to do right now is to share the show. Remember, because of those algorithms, what we have to do to ensure that America, a whole big portion of the town, sees what we're doing. Absent that, you know what happened. It dies rather quickly. So please remember, the first thing I'd like to ask all of you to do on Facebook Live, go ahead and share. What are we asking them to do, Sabrina?
Share. Do it now.
Do it now. We need you to go ahead and share these shows. And also, folks, please do remember that this is a progressive show. And what we always ask of our progressives is to remember that while the right wing has the Koch brothers, we only have you. So therefore, go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Again, that is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. We're going to have a great show today called Right Wing Media Using Local Airwaves to Push Trump's Message. And Sabrina, you know how that goes. I mean, we are the ones on the left trying to get stuff done, trying to get the truth out, but somehow the right wing has its way.
It definitely does. We can jump right into it right now if you'd like to, Mr. Egberto Willies. I think we need to take a close look at Sinclair Broadcasting. All of you John Oliver fans out there probably have seen that particular episode where he breaks it down and tells it like it is as far as what Sinclair Broadcasting is doing. They're buying up all of these small local radio stations and television stations and putting everybody on that same Fox and Friends type message, which is, Trump is right, everything else is wrong. And just to name one main thing that they're doing.
But you know what's interesting, Sabrina? Mm-hmm. I have, just now that you mention it, that is going to be the blog of the week. But just to kind of give a little teaser here, this is what I have for folks. And check this out.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Hi. Sabrina, were you able to hear it? I don't know if it goes over the other channel or not.
No, I did. I heard a little bit, but that was enough. I'm good.
Right. Now, what is interesting is we got it all broadcasted across, but I mean there's certain things getting back to the other channel that sometimes we have problems with. But anyhow, I find it amazing that this one company can control so many stations and can do all of that at once. They don't need to be a network anymore. They can just be a private company owning these things. But let's get to the show. It's a metastasizing, the subtitle of our show is A Metastasizing Right-Wing Media Must Be Arrested Before It Is Too Late. So, conservative right-wing media company Sinclair Broadcast Group, who owns hundreds of stations, got caught red-handed promoting Trump as news. As you see, that's what we just saw. Trump as the news. They're doing everything that Trump wanted done. This problem can be disastrous for a democracy. Our guest today is Sabrina Jacobs. Sabrina Jacobs, host and producer of A Rude Awakening on Pacifica Network Station KPFA 94.1 FM, Berkeley. She is currently fundraising to build out her online presence to counter the right-wing media that has continued to grow like cancer as they continuously lie to the country. Folks, please do remember to, on our blog post, there is a link to her GoFundMe as well. So don't forget to help us in progressive media get the message out. We need to arrest what we see Sinclair Media or Sinclair Group or whatever they're called, Sinclair Broadcast Group, what they're doing. The reality is the democracy is not up for sale. The democracy has already been sold. So Sabrina, at this point in our show, we have this thing called, and I'm going to tell you what it's called right now. It's called this.
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, folks. And for all our folks on Facebook Live, welcome to Tom, welcome Jamie, welcome Martha, Tom, all the others. Bear with me if I can't see all of you right now, but I'll get to you later on in the show. But anyhow, right-wing media manipulation exposed. Now, what do we do about it? And that's the title of the show. Russian influence on the 2016 election was likely real, but the programming and indoctrination of Americans continued by the faction of the plutocracy via right-wing media manipulation, more so than Russians. This TV conglomerate is forcing its hundreds of stations to lie to its millions of viewers. This manipulation is dangerous and will kill our democracy if not arrested now. Don't you agree? Don't you agree, Sabrina?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. I mean, it needs to stop. I mean, the FCC needs to step in because they're buying up way too many radio stations, way too many television stations, and filling them with these Fox News automatons, that are just going off and repeating and repeating and repeating everything that Fox and Friends says, and basically, touting the Trump party line of crap.
That's exactly what it is, crap.
We don't know if he's lying half the time. I mean, we don't know if he's telling the truth half the time. I mean, well, actually, we do know. We do know that most of the time he is lying. Okay, so we definitely got that part covered. But I mean, how are we supposed to have any trust in our democracy? How are we supposed to have any trust in this administration? How are we supposed to be able to trust each other? Because it trickles down. It trickles down into who we're talking to, how we're communicating with each other. I mean, it needs to stop. And Sinclair Broadcasting, the fact that these so-called establishment Republicans are just, kowtowing to everything that this man is doing, it tells you right there where we are going. And the only hope that we have right now is the Mueller investigation.
I'm going to talk about one other hope that we have before I continue reading the blog of the week, and that is that we get all progressive voices out there to counteract what's going on with Sinclair Media. And when I say all, I'm talking about new media. I'm talking about the Young Turks. I'm talking about Pacifica's network. I'm talking about the network that you're about to establish. I'm talking about Politics Done Right. I'm talking about all these different organizations that are out there that are progressives that are all intent on telling the truth, and not only telling the truth, but exposing what's going on out there to do what? Kill our democracy.
Absolutely. Can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to say that's the silver lining, too. I mean, this is the slight demise, or the continuing demise, the slow demise, I should say, of our democracy with this particular administration in power right now. It is the galvanizing influence. It is the silver lining where the left, being involved in the left, being involved with Pacifica Radio for the past 8+ years, just being a liberal myself, it was always very prevalent with the fracturing of the left. That fracturing, they're very factionalized, and there's so-and-so group over here and whoop-de-whoop group over there and whatnot. Now you're seeing everybody come together. The March for Our Lives group,
yes,
the Women's March, the second, version 2.0. The protesting, the inauguration of President Trump, just all of us coming together on the left to say, hey, we're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let this dystopia that you're trying to create become this actuality. We're not going to do that. So
I like that.
I think that's the beauty of what's happening now, because it's forcing a lot of conversations. It's forcing a lot of conversations as far as race is concerned. You know, I mean, it was the get out of jail free card for your latently racist white person that I voted for Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, well, you can't say that anymore. That doesn't fly. That doesn't shake. You know what I mean?
Right.
We need to have a deeper conversation of,
right.
Why you're treating me like this. We need to have a deeper conversation as to, how can we get past this ugly situation that we're finding ourselves in, that's racially motivated. So I think that's the beauty of having this, Cheeto in chief as our president.
I don't think I ever heard it like that, but I think maybe that has something to do with the color, right? The color of Cheetos, maybe. Oh my God! Don't forget, you're a serious journalist, Sabrina.
Hey, I got to crack a fast one every once in a while. It's that tanning. It's the tanning. I don't know what it is.
I think that's what it is. But anyhow, continuing with the blog of the week, CNN Brian Stelzer wrote a piece where he exposed Sinclair right-wing media manipulation a few weeks ago, and here's what he said. This is manipulative. That's an anchor at a local TV station owned by Sinclair describing the company's latest mandate, a promotional campaign. They call it a promotional campaign that sounds like pro-Trump propaganda. Internal documents call the new initiative an anchor-delivered journalistic responsibility message.
Wow. Well,
can you believe that?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I mean, there's nothing that's surprising us anymore. And of course, Trump is going to be he's going to try to put out his party line. I mean, whatever it is that's popular, it's going to make him seem popular. And he's going to put that party line out for us to believe, over that next 24-hour period, 48-hour period, or that week-long period. I mean, that's just what he does. He's changing the way that we're consuming information, the way that we're consuming news, and we have to stay on top of that.
Yes.
We have to stay on top of that.
And that's why you have to have a burgeoning or growing progressive movement, not only on the grounds with, let's say, swing left or indivisible movement or all of that. We have to have you on that radio doing what we're doing here, and everywhere we have to be out there talking to the masses. Folks, if you're just joining us, we're with Sabrina Jacobs, host, producer of A Rude Awakening on Pacifica Network, KPFA 94.1 FM in Berkeley. And I had the honor of being interviewed by her not once, but twice. So, and now she's with us. Now, folks, if you're just joining us, please remember that to keep us going on to the feeds, please remember to share the program on Facebook right now. So before you continue listening, please go ahead and share right now. But anyway, continuing with the blog of the post. But the staffers who shared the documents with CNN say the promos are inappropriate. Yet another corporate infringement on local journalism. At my station, everyone was uncomfortable doing it. So they said, a local anchor said. The person insisted on anonymity because they believed they would be fired for speaking out. Other local anchors also said the promos were a source of dismay in their newsrooms. The promo decry fake stories from national news outlets echoing President Trump's inflammatory rhetoric about fake news. The promos are supposed to start airing on local stations later this month. That is now. The instructions sent to station news directors say they are 60 to 75 second spots, should run frequently to create maximum reach and frequency.
Oh my God, that is just disgusting.
But you know what's so funny about it? I think they're going to catch hell because now that all the other stations have gotten it. And did you see what's the name of the company that released this? I don't remember the name of the company that released the video. I don't think it was BuzzFeed. It was another one. But they have it out, and now everybody's making so much fun of it that it's all, they released a letter stating, oh, this was a promotional thing. This was not a news thing, so it's okay because it wasn't a news thing. Anyhow, in recent years, Sinclair owners, the Smith family, have made several programming decisions that reflect a right-wing agenda, most noticeably pro-Trump commentaries by former Trump aide, and I know you remember this guy, Boris Epstein, have cut into local times. Local journalists have also bristled at so-called must-run packages about subjects that aren't relevant to local audiences, but are hot-button stories for conservatives. The Terrorism Alert Desk is a regular segment about security threats around the world. John Oliver did a piece. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see the piece?
Wait a minute, I've seen practically all of them. Which one?
John Oliver did a piece on this
On
where he
Sinclair.
showed the terrorist alerts. And, you know, you don't see a whole lot of there's not a lot of terrorism occurring right now. But the little silly things that they showed with somebody in their yard who may have signed an ISIS pledge on the internet, that's the kind of things that they put in for terrorism alert. It's funny.
Wow. Well, it's scary. I mean, just to go back to what you the blog post of the day, the week. You know, what's really scary is this is censorship.
Yes.
This is censorship. You know, I mean, it's one thing to have a talk show, you know, and it's another thing to you have those outlets or you have those shows that are talk shows, and then you have the news shows, right? That are just strictly objectively reporting the news, right? And now you have this creation of this once again dystopia of information through Sinclair Broadcasting. There has to be something inherently wrong with this. It has to be illegal. And I mean, that's where the FCC needs to step up and do its job, you know. But, I mean, we go back to the Trump administration. We go back to what they're doing, how they're, you know, secretly sticking in these, you know, federal judges, these young federal judges that actually can pass confirmation. There's few of them, but they are getting stuck in there. The replacement of all these yes people in his immediate administration, the people that are close to him, that's all going to trickle down. So, you know, to even think that folks are okay with working in an environment like that where they're being, you know, completely and totally censored and pushed to toe a political line that may or may not be their own, but to get to force or to brainwash,
right,
you know, hegemonically the masses to fall into line and to believe what they're being told. I mean, that is scary.
That is what occurs. That occurs in other countries. We thought that would never occur here in the States. And you know, one of the things
it's happening.
It's happening here. One of the things that we preach at this show all of the times is we try like hell not to really hit up on conservatives or Republicans very hard on my show, that is. And that is because my contention is the Sinclairs of the world, the Rush Limbaughs of the world, and all these guys that you and I know are full of it. You know, they're just some people that are convinced by what they have to say. So more so than attacking these folks, I try to work with these folks. I mean, I get hit. Yesterday on Daily Kos, I wrote an article and on the front page, and a few people hit me up because they are like, oh, well, you know, he's a guy from Texas who's always trying to talk to those Republicans. You know, it's like, well, I'm trying to win. I'm trying for progressives to win, and I'm not asking these guys to change their parties. I'm asking these guys to vote their interests. And every now and then, some of them vote their interests as opposed to voting their party, you know. So, you know, they'll do their thing, but I'll continue to do my thing. Let me finish up the blog. Think Progress transcribes the following script, and I don't want to read the script. It's pretty long, so I'm not going to do the script. I just want to end with this paragraph. It says, the video above shows the over 100 stations anchors reading the script like robots. Several stations, one message forced upon them. This action is dangerous because it flies under the national radar. Even as the messaging becomes national, the total of locals doing the same thing is in fact nationwide. America, we must be ever vigilant. You see, this piece from last, and then I pointed them to a piece by John Oliver. But anyhow, folks, do you know this is a call-in show? The telephone number is 646-716-5812. Don't see anybody on waiting for or coming on to any calls. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. So, Sabrina, tell me a little bit about, I want to talk a little bit about what's occurring in Sacramento as well. You know what I'm talking about.
Stephen Clark.
Stephen Clark. But I don't want to get quite there yet. I want to first kind of concentrate on what's happening with the teachers. I love that in Kentucky and mostly now Oklahoma, finally, you know, I've always wondered, teachers, we have so many teachers around, right? The one largest employee base are teachers, right? And somehow I've always wondered how teachers have allowed these state representatives, with the power that they have both with your kids and otherwise, to continuously cut their budgets, to continuously underpay them, to continuously do all these things without revolting. And folks, for those who are just coming on to the show, please remember to, as soon as you get onto Facebook and start listening to the show, please go ahead and share. Even if you want to stay for 4 or 5 minutes or whatever, please go ahead and share the show. Do remember, this is a call-in show, 646-716-5812. I am speaking to host and producer of A Rude Awakening, Sabrina Jacobs of Pacifica Network, KPFA 94.1 FM, Berkeley. I always want to say my station, but I have to remember I'm talking about the Pacifica station in Berkeley. But anyhow, folks, so again, that telephone number is 646-716-5812. So, Sabrina, what's occurring right now? First of all, West Virginia, the teachers got most of what they wanted when they went on strike a few weeks ago. It was wonderful to see a union win for a change, something that progressives strive for. Don't you agree?
I think it was wonderful. I think it's just another part of the backlash that the pushback against the privatization of schools that we're seeing now. It's in
right.
It's in mass. We're seeing Oklahoma do it. We're seeing Kentucky do it. And it's just it's what needs to happen. I mean, we have this Betsy DeVos. I mean, she is just a complete and total joke. I mean, I almost feel sorry for her. It's just like, oh, did your brother, the owner and founder of Academy, also known as Blackwater, military contracting organization, put you up to it, to throw, to be able to get him into the administration too. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. They're dirty. They're dirty on so many different levels. But again, we're seeing en masse, folks that are fighting for, public school education and to keep that, as a part of the American fabric. I think that's important. And we're going to keep seeing more of a pushback. West Virginia, they came under the wire. They got almost everything that they wanted. I think they need to, hopefully push further, maybe down the line with more contract negotiations to, get everything that they want. We need to keep the fire under these folks' butts to let them know that we're not going to change this. We're not going to just change the way that we've been doing things. Just because they're able to live a certain particular lifestyle because of their socioeconomic status doesn't mean the rest of us can, do it, or should we be forced to do it?
Absolutely not.
Who do they think they are? I mean, really.
Let me tell you a little. This is interesting because Oklahoma, what the teachers want, a $10,000 raise, justifiably so. Do you realize, and folks, those of you that are just coming on, please remember to give us, to share if you're on Facebook right away so that we can go ahead and keep these programs flowing. And the telephone number is 646-716-5812. I'd love to hear from you. I see a lot of messages on Facebook Live that, you guys should call in and ask it, because before I get to the teachers in Oklahoma, let me get to some of the folks here. Daniel Ledo, one of my resident and often conservatives. Actually, he's more than a conservative. He's a right-wing Tea Party conservative young man. Whoa, friend of mine. I got to say, he's a good guy. He lives in Kingwood, Texas. But he says, yeah, Trump is just like Hitler. He is shutting down all opposition media. And then sarcastically, how is Egberto still on the air? In other words, he's saying I need to be thrown off because, I guess because both you and I are disparaging the president, so who knows? Kathleen Gallo.
The president disparages himself, okay?
I mean, and that's the thing that I wonder about. Folks, how can you seriously, anybody, I don't care if you're from the left or the right, how can you defend the president now with a straight face? How can you really, there's a young man, I'm not a religious person, I'm a humanist, but I interviewed Dr. Mills a few weeks ago, and periodically he sends me blogs. He loves to write. So he sent a blog that made the biblical case against Donald Trump, and he also made the biblical case that should send all those evangelicals that are supporting Donald Trump into repentance. And I mean, the case that he made, he went through the scriptures and he showed perfectly the reason why these folks are all wrong. And I would dare any one of those supporters, the big shots that are supporting him, Billy Graham's son and all the others, Franklin Graham, I think is his name, I would ask them to find the biblical justification for their current support for this president, as opposed to the excoriation of this guy. Because I mean, he's simply, come on, Sabrina, I mean, he's no doubt.
The guy is Sodom and he is Gomorrah. I mean, really.
You put him all in one. Yeah.
All wrapped into one. And
all
they
wrapped
knew
into one.
They knew that. I'd never even heard of a mulligan until these evangelicals, hit the circuit and started, hitting CNN, MSNBC, and the like. We're giving him a mulligan. What the hell's a mulligan? What does that mean? What does that even mean?
Oh, I think you moved the ball, right? Something like that.
I can't move. Okay, we could go 1,000 ways with that one, but don't get it.
It is crazy because they would have never moved the mulligan. I mean, give Obama a mulligan, right? I mean, think about Obama.
He wore the tan suit. He wore the tan suit, and the Republicans, they just jumped out of their skin. Everything that this man has done in the short 15 months that he has been in office, if Obama had done it, and this is one thing that irritates me about the mainstream media, if Obama had done just a 1/1000th of what he's done, okay, they would have impeached him, and they know it because he's a black man. Now they keep rushing to defend Donald Trump because he is a white man, and that conversation needs to be started. That conversation needs to be had on mainstream media. That conversation needs to be brought to the forefront, because that's what we're talking about here. It's okay when a white man acts a fool and does what the hell he wants, like this man has done for the past 14 months, but if a black man in power with any type of authority steps outside of that L7 square, it's just, the whole world's burning down, and it's because of them. You
brought up something that warrants a question here.
And not that I'm a big Obama fan either. I'm not a big Obama.
No, I know
fan
that. But I like Obama, but I'm not the type of person that is like, oh my God, this is. But you brought up something, because I got into trouble on Daily Kos and mostly from black women, because I said that at this point I'm going to put you on the spot because you and I never discussed this before, but I said that I think at this point in our history, the fact that a black man could be elected president and a white woman couldn't, in 2 tries, first against a black man and secondly against a white man, still couldn't win the election. I said that, I'm a black person, you're a black person, and as much as, a lot of people didn't like it, I said there is a possibility that sexism is actually more prevalent than racism. You share them both. You're a woman and you're black. My question is, what are your I got torn up for saying that, and believe it or not, I also got torn up quite a bit from black women on that one. So I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot on this one.
No, don't apologize. I think you're totally right. I mean, I've always felt, being a black woman, I'm at the bottom of the food chain, so to speak. And that is true.
Right.
And I would challenge any of these women who have torn you up on Daily Kos, as far as their comments are concerned, to go toe-to-toe with me any day.
Right.
Because
so do you agree with the statement then, or?
I agree with the statement that sexism plays a part because of they're looking at, they've always seen women as being, men have always seen women as the fairer, the fairer of the genders, we're more delicate, we have to literally carry more weight because we can have babies, you know what I'm saying? But never speaking to, it's always the physical part. It's never the intellectual part. That's being.
So I noticed you didn't necessarily completely agree with me. You kind of hedge a little bit on that. Just
what part didn't I agree with?
No. I'm trying to say, because and some people told me just get away from it, but I still deep inside want to know, especially somebody like you, a journalist that's been doing a whole lot out there in LA, and that is how, if we were to rank. Somebody told me, Egberto, just don't rank them, okay? But if you were to rank sexism versus racism, which one is more difficult?
Okay, now you put it very simply. Okay, difficult in what way, though?
Okay, in other words, the reason I brought that up is that Hillary couldn't win against Obama and Hillary couldn't win against Trump. Is it something intrinsic to Hillary, or is there also a component of it being a woman? This country is just not ready to elect a woman, but it would elect a black person president.
I think it's both. I think we have to take it out of the context of, Hillary versus Obama, the black man, or Hillary versus against Trump, the racist. A racist white man, so a black man versus a racist white man, and the racist white man went out and the black man went out. I think we have to look at Hillary as the individual. She's done a lot of dirt.
Okay.
A lot of dirt, and she's pissed off a lot of people, including a lot of the feminists out there. I mean, there are a lot of women out there who just, they cringe. If you look at a lot of the different polls that have been taken in regards to, okay, why didn't she win? Why didn't she win? A lot of these folks, they did go ahead and vote for her. They were holding their noses the whole time.
Right.
She's done a lot of dirt. I think that needs to be taken into consideration. Now, just taking it out of the context of the presidential elections of 2008 and 2016, I think we need to look at, and just looking at, the black, being a woman versus being, versus the races. I would have to say being black.
So you disagree with me as well. Yeah.
For me, it's like, they see both.
Right.
When I'm walking down the street, they see a black woman.
A black woman, right.
You know what I mean? And I've always thought of myself as a black woman, not a woman black.
Right. No, I mean, it makes sense. Again, what I wanted to do, and you're very, you're so political in your answers. I guess you're a journalist, Sabrina.
I guess
Yes. Okay, let me continue with what some of the other people are saying here, and let me first welcome folks. Darren Law, welcome aboard. Michael Davis, Chase K. Escamilla, William McClure, who's running for judge. Remember, good guy. Darren Law, Tom Hines, Martha Morris, Janet Lee, Janet Lesnick, Daniel Lado, even though you're interested in Daniel with what you say, Kathleen Gallo, and much more. But let's see what you have to say. And folks, the telephone number if you want to call in, 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Okay, Daniel Lado comes back and he says, yes, Saul Alinsky learned a lot from Goebbels. Why would he say that?
Whoa.
Is that crazy or what?
Yeah, that's very, okay, somebody's a World War II buff. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what he was trying to get. Okay, now,
21st century.
Right. Tom Hines agrees with you. He says racism is probably worse. It includes both sexes. I think you kind of brought that up when you says when you walk, you think black woman, et cetera, et cetera. So Tom Hines, our journalist from California, is in agreement with you, and it says that just maybe I may have to rethink the way I thought about the issue. Hey, I don't mind doing that, if I have to rethink it, but hey. All right, we have Kathleen says, read up on Goebbels. I guess she's telling him he's goofy. Okay, Rene Perpatua, she says, welcome aboard, Rene. You could write a dissertation and it would not matter. They use fake news and the echo chamber and Russian bots to maintain their base. So true. And that is not hyperbole what Rene just said. That is true. We also have from Daniel Lado again. Daniel Lado comes back. No, I'm not saying if Trump was Hitler, Egberto would be in the camp right now. So since he is not and still on the air, the claim is stupid. Okay, Daniel.
It's a slow. Fascism is a slow-moving train. Once it picks up steam, I mean, we look at what happened. Look what happened during World War II or before World War II. Before when the brown shirts were getting everything going, it was a very slow thing. They got the gypsies. They got the homosexuals. They got everybody who wasn't Aryan. Then they went after the Jews. And it was those groups, oh, well, I'm not a gypsy, so it doesn't have anything to do with me. Oh, right. I'm not a homosexual, it has nothing to do with me. Oh, well, right. I'm not, I'm Aryan, so it has nothing to do with me. And so on and so forth. And they just chipped away very, very, very slowly. And that needs to be taken into consideration. That is what we're looking at. That is how fascism plugged itself in, fastened itself to the German working class, right?
Absolutely
The Aryan
so.
German working class. And that's exactly what's happening right now. That's where his base is coming from. It's coming from these disenfranchised, low income white folks, that don't have as much education, that are pissed off, that feel like they've been, completely forgotten by
Right.
the Obama administration, twice over. So that's 8 years straight. Even though they are still, getting somewhat, free health care with Obamacare. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Well,
like,
what they don't know is that Connect is actually Obamacare, and all these other
sure.
southern states that took Obamacare just named it something differently, and then they
Right.
got it. So you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, they need to take that into consideration. You need to understand where that's coming from. And they also need to understand that Obamacare was a conservative idea.
Thank you, Heritage Foundation.
Thank you. They came up with it. They are the one, the Heritage Foundation is the one that came up with that idea.
Obama always started from the center, as opposed to from the left to get to the center left or something like that. He always started from the center, right down the middle.
Always.
Too many times.
Yeah, selling out a lot of folks along the way.
Exactly. Anyway, continuing with the folks online. Let's see. Rene Perpatua. Teachers work like slaves and don't have time to do anything but keep up with their classes. The unions often do not serve them well and are led by selfish people in bed with the admin. Rene, I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're in Texas or whatever, but the unions have problems. What I hope that we don't do too often is disparage unions, because there are very good unions, including the union who did well for those in West Virginia, and hopefully I think they call it KEA is in Kentucky, that is working for them as well. We need to build unions. I had a man come to do some repairs on a stove. And he was talking about the big company that he worked for, and I won't give the name because I don't want to get this guy in trouble. Says that right now they're running around. The company is sending out emails to everybody. Texas is a right-to-work state, or a right-to-work-for-less state. And what they're telling them is, do not sign the cards. The cards that says if over 50% of the people sign these cards, the company has to recognize a union. And the company is telling them, do not sign. It will hurt your employment. And he just started talking to me in jest about it. And what I looked at him and I told him, find all the people that you know that you can trust. And you know what? Tell them to sign the damn thing. Because the reality is, we want more unions. We don't want less unions. And one thing I want to say, Rene Perpatua, is that unions really, every corporation has a union. It's called the Chamber of Commerce, or the Aluminum Trade Association, or all these guys. What do you think? Those are people getting together so as a mass they can do much better than they can do singly.
That's
Employees have no power by themselves, right?
No, they don't. And I think too that a lot of these states are pushing for the fight for 15.
Right.
As far as minimum wage is concerned. California is a right-to-work state as well. So the fight for 15 is, it's going from county to county to county. And, it's a fight. And in order to hang on to the wins that we've had in regards to pay increases, per hour wage increases, we definitely have to come together. I mean, Trump keeps going on. He's touting about the economy and it's doing well and more people have jobs. And his favorite tagline is, there's more jobs in the African-American community and the Latino community than there has been in the last 20 years. That's like the Republican, talking points, But at the same time, it's like, okay, yeah, we're employed, but it's a gig nation.
Right.
We need to have 1, 2, 3 different gigs in order to pay the rent.
I'm glad you said that.
So it's like, okay, go back to that fight for 15 and make sure and all those people that are signing the petition to make sure that legislation goes through, make sure those people are signing up to make sure there's no union busting going on. Make sure that there are unions that are backing up that fight and that
We are
win.
speaking to Sabrina Jacobs, host producer of A Rude Awakening of Pacifica Network KPFA 94.1 FM in Berkeley. Folks, the phones are wide open. We can take 50 calls at a time, you know. Our number is 646-716-5812. Again, that is 646-716-5812. Most of the folks are talking on Facebook. And I have an important message here. And this one I want to answer and answer in detail. Kathleen Gallo is saying we're not going to let him do that, going to stop it. No, how do we stop it? And in as much, simple question, important answer is this. That is a problem that most Americans have right now. That is a problem that most Americans feel right now, and that is that they are impotent to do anything. My contention is you're not impotent, and we need to show that in 2018, and the way we show that is voting. But voting does not begin in November. First of all, there are dozens of states that have yet to have any primaries. What you need to do, for all those that are listening to my voice right now, is you need to be a part of the primaries, the Democratic primary if necessary in your state, and you have to make sure the most progressive Democrat who can be elected gets elected in the primary. And then you have to work your butt off to get folks who've never voted, who usually don't vote, to vote. But still, that's not enough. With all the laws that are going into effect in many red states that are trying to suppress the votes, meaning making it difficult for people to vote. I can tell you right here in certain precincts in Houston, what had occurred is that even though folks could all vote, even though they had met the requirements to vote, they sent people away, and people have to go to work, and they don't have the time to spend in a line to prove who they are. What I'm telling you, folks, is make sure to get all your documentation in order so that you can walk into that polling place and vote. So it doesn't start in November. You don't go rush to vote in November. You start now. Start in the primaries. Texas has already had its primaries. We are having what comes after the primaries again? The runoffs. We're having the runoffs in May, but our primaries are over. We've elected quite a few good people out here in Texas. Now, I imagine that there's a whole lot of good people in California. I think you guys do everything late in California, but
we do. We do.
We'll see. You do everything late in California, but folks. What Miss Kathleen Gallo had to say, that plea that she has, is very important that you go out and do that. Remember, don't wait until November. Don't wait until October. Generally speaking, you have to register 30 days before you vote. I'll say register 60 days before you vote. And the other thing about it is continuously check the websites to make sure that they didn't scrub you off of the rolls, because that is what they like to do as well. In other words, they'll sign you up, they'll send a piece of mail to the wrong address, and when the return comes, they'll say, oh, this person is no longer a voter, and they scrub the records. There's a lot of shenanigans that are going to be going on. So we have to be proactive. Each of us, those of you that are precinct chairs or whatever, each of you have to go out there and say, okay, what I'm going to do is help those other people vote. Do you have any other advice for her as well?
Oh, goodness. Well, I would have to say, I'm not sure about how gerrymandered Texas is.
Very much so.
Okay, so take that into consideration. Last I heard, Obama and Eric Holder had this whole program that the post-Obama administration program where they were looking into stopping the gerrymandering.
Right.
And what we've seen, like in Alabama, like we've seen in Pennsylvania, and like we've seen in North Carolina, it doesn't matter with all the gerrymandering that has happened. It doesn't really matter. So I would check into the gerrymandering, and then I would, if she's a person of color, just to make sure she's checking, to make sure that her vote has gone through, make sure she's registered still. They may have all that information down there, but she may not technically be registered, so that will give them a reason to throw it out. They're doing everything that they can because of this fight against gerrymandering and because of the fight that they're up against come for us in November. So
Well,
that's
you know, good for it. Kathleen replied. She said, I've been doing whatever I can to get folks to vote for progressive candidates in whatever state, not only my own. In the past, I never would have done so. So she represents, what she's representing is the activism of progressives. And thank you very much for what you're doing, Kathleen, because that is what not only you, but for those who are listening to this show as well, I can guarantee you that you doing that and you making the point, in the past, I never would have done so. That alone will be a catalyst for others to go out and do what in the past they've not done. And I think if enough of, go ahead, Sabrina.
Well, I just wanted to say real quickly that there's also this push. There's several organizations that are out there that are pushing to have for Democratic women and progressive women to run for office. There's several different organizations out there. I think you can try Women in Media. We do a lot of political analysis and whatnot, and putting female political analysts on a lot of these mainstream television talk shows. And I think we need to take into consideration and start joining with these groups, or creating your own if you don't have one, if you're in a deep red state or in a deep red area. But there are those organizations, national organizations out there that are pushing to get women in particular, and then progressives in general, to start running for these offices. And, the end of last year we saw it. We're starting to see it now, with Pennsylvania doing what it did, even though they've been gerrymandered to death.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to say that, the tides are turning, and they're turning slowly. The wheels of politics turn very, very slowly, as we already know. So I think just to sustain the momentum, just tell people to turn the TV on at night and say, is this what you want? Because this is what you're going to get. And we're going to end up with another 4 years of it if we don't do something now.
Absolutely so. Renee says, I'm in New York. I agree that we need to build unions. However, the corruption in unions must be addressed. No doubt. And here's what I tell employees, workers. Yes, you need unions, but most importantly, you have to play an active role. Don't just pay your dues. Go to the meeting and kick out the corrupt ones.
That's right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you're going to have that level of corruption, with any type of organization, with any type of company. Anywhere where you got money changing hands, you're going to have some level of corruption, or the possibility thereof. So, I think there needs to be the checks and balances, just like we have the, internal investigations with our law enforcement and whatnot, internal Bureau of Investigation, or the internal, the what's that guy that did the IG guy or whatever that supposedly got rid of McCabe and all that. We have, that's what our democracy is made on. It's created on checks and balances. So if it's a union, most definitely there needs to be some level of checks and balances. So we need to look at the restructuring of that and make it so it's fair for everyone, fair and just for everyone.
Now, Tom Hines came with some information about the
Did you say Tom Hanks?
Say that again?
No,
Hines. Tom Hines. Oh, if it was Tom Hanks, I would share that thing. I would reshare it just so that the algorithm pick up that name, Tom Hanks. Tom is my buddy, man, But no, I mean, Tom Hines says that in Kentucky, they are cutting teachers' pension by 33%, and that's why that they're revolting today. He also says Bevin is not their friend. He stated the other day that you can't win an argument with an ignorant person. So he's calling teachers ignorant. Can you believe he's calling teachers ignorant? Folks, telephone number 646-716-5812. We only have about 8 minutes to take a call, but beforehand, I want to kind of change the subject unless I get more. If I missed any questions in this thing here, because there are a lot of you in the room, forgive me, but I'll get to it as you all know. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Sacramento. What's his name? Forgot his name. Yes.
Clark.
Tell me about it.
They found. I mean, he was trying to get into his grandparents' house. I think he knew that the back door might be open, the sliding glass door might be open. He was on his phone at the same time. I'm not sure who he was on the phone with. I'm sure that's been released by now, but I'm not aware of who he was on the phone with. He was in the backyard, and some paranoid neighbor called, and it was, typical black man must be an intruder type situation from the way I'm reading it, and from the way it's been, displayed in the
Was he
news.
really breaking windows or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge. He just had a cell phone in his hand, and he was just trying to get into his grandparents' home. That's all.
Well, I understand that yesterday the cops ran over an elderly grandmother. I don't know if you saw that news yet, but it kind of came over.
Oh.
Everything is hot news now, so it came over as a flash right now that
Oh my God.
yeah. So.
Oh. Well, the cops out here, it's getting better. I mean, we've got, because I'm actually in Oakland, and Sacramento's about 2 hours ahead, or 2 hours away from us. So it's kind of a different little world. But
Sacramento, that is.
Yeah, Sacramento.
And you're in
capital.
Berkeley.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm in Berkeley, Oakland area, and Oakland Police Department has been under receivership since, God, I think it's probably the longest receivership, federal oversight. So we got the feds that are constantly looking at Oakland Police Department and checking and balancing, once again, those checks and balances, right? Checking and balancing what they're doing, how it's working, how it's not working. They've gone through 4 or 5 different chiefs of police in the last 6-7 years. And a lot of these scandals, they've broken open, but they've been contained at the same time. So I think that Sacramento, they need to really check and balance themselves and look at how they're approaching the public. How is their approach to the public? It needs to be better defined. I mean, murdering black people just because they're black is not the way to go. And that's what it boils down to. Where is that paranoia? Where are the cops that are coming from these actual neighborhoods that know these people? Where are they coming from? Most of these cops, they live outside of these neighborhoods. You know what I mean? So they don't know who they're policing. But
it's deeper than that, right?
That they're policing. What was that?
It's deeper than that, because when you find that the behavior of cops are almost identical throughout the country,
sure,
it seems like there's a systemic problem.
Absolutely. Well, they're not from the neighborhood. Most of the time, they're not from the neighborhood. Most of the time, it's white cops policing African Americans, Latinos, the hood and the barrio merging together, or a mixture thereof. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're looking at. And they're not from there. Those white boys aren't from there. Those white girls aren't from there. They're not from those neighborhoods. There's very few of them, very few cops that look like we do. You know what I'm saying? And willing to understand, what's going on in the neighborhood at that time, or in that, that moment, or what have you. There isn't that understanding. There isn't that correlation. There isn't that, hey, I get where you're coming from. I
community
understand
policing.
Yeah, the community. There's none of that. Sacramento's way behind. It seems to me, with this situation with Stephen Clark. I mean, and then
I heard
here
Sacramento
in the Bay
is
Area,
almost like a southern city.
It is, and it's very hot, like a southern city. It's very hot. But also, we had another BART on our Bay Area Rapid Transit, our BART train. We had another murder happen of a black man, reminiscent of Oscar Grant. And, I don't know if they're able to go under any type of oversight. They need to be under the oversight because, it was 8 years ago that Oscar Grant was murdered. And now we're having another one, The scary part is that they've got body cam footage now on all of this that's happening. It's like, we're being forced to have the conversation as a community, which, can be a good thing. But at the same time, it's like they still don't have any fear. There's still no fear.
You know what's interesting? Tom Hines says, I have friends who are with law enforcement, and they agree that there is nothing worse than a scared cop.
Yeah.
And if you're scared of folks that look like me or you, then you're a scared cop. And maybe that's, a lot of that is, how you react to folks that look different than you do.
They've got the the fire water for the eyes, they've got the pepper spray, they've got the they got the taser, they've got the baton, they've got the gun, they've got a whole arsenal. They walk around with a whole arsenal, and that's scary. That is scary to have for one person, let alone hundreds, to have that kind of power.
Okay, now we're close to the end of the show, so let me ask you a few questions now. Sabrina, as of course we're speaking to Sabrina Jacobs, host and producer of A Rude Awakening on Pacifica Network KPFA 94.1 in Berkeley, California. Okay, tell me a little bit about your new project, that website. What do you intend to do? What do you want to do? And I hope I'm going to hear the right thing. As a progressive activist journalist.
As a progressive activist journalist, as you put it, Mr. Egberto Willies. Well, I want to keep doing what I've been doing. I want to keep and expound on the foundation that I've already created with doing A Rude Awakening. It's a half-hour show. I hope to make it an hour-long show.
Oh, you're going for an hour? Great.
I hope so, yeah, because a half hour is it's not enough time. I mean, with these news dumps, we have a news dump like every hour, it seems, as opposed to once a week. So just to be able to keep up, and to get people the information that they need and how they can empower themselves. That's the main premise of the show. And I'm trying to build out my online presence, getting a website, doing what you do here with your with your show. I want to be like Egberto Willies when I grow up.
Oh yeah, right.
But I think it's really important. We need to be able to come together, and the only way to come together now is with the infiltration of groups like the Sinclair Broadcasting Group and Fox and they're coming together. We need to come together. So that's pretty much it. I just want to get the website up and running so that I can share and be able to take information from the community. If there's a story there, go out and be able to investigate it and get the information back to you, the listeners.
Well, folks, I have a link to Sabrina's GoFundMe page on our blog, so please go ahead and visit that. It's very important that we support progressive media. I can't stress that enough. In fact, that was the beginning of our program today, what Sinclair Broadcast Group is doing. In fact, because they own so many local radio stations, they are able to saturate 70% of the United States with their singular message of what I call overbearing conservatism to the rest of the country with their stations. And now they're in the process of buying a whole other few dozen stations from the Tribune, and that is going to give them even further reach. So, folks, the only way to arrest that is for our progressive media structure to grow. As you know, we don't have the cash flow, we don't have the capital that the plutocracy has, that they are using to expand these bases. Our sole growth is going to really come from the smaller networks and from the independent media, like we have Sabrina, myself, and we have the Young Turks, and we have a whole myriad of stations out there that are reaching their segment of the population. So we are going to need hundreds of Sabrinas out there doing their thing on the internet and elsewhere on radio to make sure that the progressive message is sent, and everything in between. Sabrina Jacobs, host, producer of A Rude Awakening on Pacifica Network KPFA 94.1. Thank you so kindly for having been with us. This was I enjoyed having you. We're going to have to do it again with some other subjects sometime soon.
Too much to talk about. Thank you so much, Egberto.
Absolutely. So, folks, please remember this is a call-in show. So in the future, I'd love to have some calls other than just those that are on the Facebook page. Please also remember that this is a progressive show that needs your support, that begs for your support, that asks for your support. Please remember to go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right, and go ahead and subscribe to our network. It's important that we all get together and get the progressive message out. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. You guys have a wonderful rest of the day.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.